You are 8 years old when the world ends. The day begins like any other. Sunlight spilling across the small valley where your family's hut sits, the distant clatter of goats' bells echoing against the hillsides. You chase your older brother through the olive groves, barefoot and laughing, with no sense that fate is preparing to close its jaws around you. For a child, the world is small. A mother's song, the taste of bread hot from the clay oven, the smell of soil after rain. You think this will last forever. Then the soldiers come. At first, you mistake them for travelers. You hear the metallic rattle before you see them. Iron armor, shields clashing against their hips, the harsh whinny of horses. Your father's face changes instantly. He tells you to stay inside, but curiosity pulls you to the doorway. That's when you see the banner, deep crimson, the golden eagle of Rome. Even as a child, you understand what that means. Rome does not come to visit. Rome comes to take. The shouting begins. Neighbors run into the fields. Your mother grabs your arm so tightly it hurts, dragging you toward the back of the house. You glimpse fire catching on the thatch of your neighbor's roof, black smoke curling upward. A soldier smashes through your door, eyes gleaming beneath his helmet. His language is strange, but the meaning is clear. Obedience or violence. His spear jabs toward you, and in that moment your childhood shatters like clay against stone. They bind your wrists with rough rope. The fibers cut into your skin as you struggle, but your resistance only earns laughter. You watch your brother try to fight, picking up a wooden staff meant for herding goats. It lasts only seconds before the butt of a spear sends him sprawling. Blood spreads across the dust. You cry out, but a hand clamps over your mouth, muffling the sound. Your mother pleads, her voice cracking, offering baskets of grain, jewelry, anything. The soldiers ignore her. To them, you are more valuable than food or silver. They herd you and the other children into the center of the village. The air stinks of smoke and fear. You see your neighbors kneeling, heads bowed, their bodies shaking. Some of the elders protest, but the crack of whips silences them. You are forced to stand in a line, each child inspected as though you are livestock. A soldier grips your chin, turning your face side to side. His fingers smell of sweat and leather. He mutters something in Latin, then pushes you forward. By the time the sun sets, the village is gone. Houses burn like torches on the hillside. Families wail for children torn from their arms. You march with the others, wrists bound, feet stumbling on the rough ground. The sound of chains jingling mixes with the cries of the captured. You keep looking back, desperate for one last glimpse of your home, but smoke hides everything. That night they camp in the open field. The soldiers eat roasted meat and drink wine, while you and the other children huddle together, hungry and terrified. The stars above seem colder than you remember, distant and indifferent. A boy beside you whispers prayers to gods you barely know. Another sobs quietly until exhaustion drags him into uneasy sleep. You stare into the darkness, clutching the rope around your wrists, already raw and bleeding, and wonder if the pain will ever stop. You don't know yet that this is only the beginning. The march will last days, then weeks. You will lose count. The soldiers will drive you hard, with little food or water. Some children will fall and not rise again. The Romans will not stop for them. Their bodies will be left where they collapse, food for birds and beasts. You will learn quickly that survival means silence, endurance, obedience. Before diving into these forgotten stories of survival and suffering, if you enjoy learning about the hidden truths of history, consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more content like this. And please comment below to let me know where you're listening from. I find it incredible that we're exploring these ancient stories together from different parts of the world, connected across time and space by our shared curiosity about the past. At 8 years old, you should be learning how to climb trees, how to swim in the river, how to laugh until your stomach hurts. Instead, you learn the weight of chains, the sound of whips, the hollow ache of hunger. Childhood becomes something you carry only in memory, fading more with every mile. When you finally reach the coast, the sight of the sea almost breaks you. Its vastness is beautiful, but the Roman ships waiting in the harbor turn that beauty into terror. Their hulls are black against the water, their sails like wings ready to swallow you. The soldiers march you up the gangplank, and for the first time you realize you may never see your home again. The sea wind whips your face as the ship pulls away. You stand chained among dozens of other children, eyes wide, hearts broken. Somewhere, behind you, the hills of your homeland shrink into the horizon. You do not wave goodbye. You cannot. Your hands are bound, and besides, you already feel less like a child and more like a possession. 8 years old, and already a slave. The sea voyage is a blur of sickness and fear. The stench of salt, sweat, and vomit clings to the air inside the ship's dark hold. You cling to a wooden beam as the waves toss you back and forth, praying silently that the ship won't sink, though part of you wonders if drowning might be a kinder fate than whatever awaits on the other side. Days merge into nights until time itself dissolves into the endless rocking of the sea. When the ship finally docks, the sound of gulls overhead feels almost mocking. You are herded out with the others, blinking in the sudden sunlight. Before you stretches a city unlike anything you have ever seen. Towering columns of marble, wide streets filled with noise and dust, statues of gods glaring down at you with cold stone eyes. This is Rome, the beating heart of the empire, and you are nothing more than a commodity in its endless machine. The slave market lies in the city's center, a place where human suffering is put on display like merchandise. You can smell it before you see it. Sweat, fear, unwashed bodies, mixed with the sharp tang of iron shackles. The market buzzes with voices, traders barking prices, buyers haggling, the occasional cry of a child torn from their mother's arms. You are marched into a courtyard where dozens of others already stand, boys and girls of every shade and size. Some are chained at the neck, others at the wrists. Their eyes carry the same hollow emptiness you now feel in your own chest. The Romans call this place a forum, but for you it is a stage where your humiliation is the spectacle. A slave merchant, rotund and perfumed, walks among you with the air of a farmer inspecting cattle. His assistants carry sponges soaked in oil, smearing it across your skin until it shines in the sun. Not for your comfort. Oiled skin fetches a higher price. Your hair is combed roughly, your teeth pried open by coarse fingers. Strong bones, the merchant mutters in Latin, though you don't yet understand the words. He slaps your arm as if testing the firmness of fruit. When your turn comes to stand on the auction block, your knees tremble so badly you fear you'll collapse. A platform raises you above the crowd, and suddenly dozens of eyes are on you. Men in fine tunics, women with jeweled hair, even children pointing and laughing. To them, you are not a child, but an object, a body with potential for labor, service, or worse. The auctioneer begins shouting, listing your supposed attributes. He mentions your age, your health, your region of origin. Words like obedient and comely drift through the air, though you don't yet grasp their meaning. What you do understand are the gestures, men raising fingers to bid, heads nodding in approval, coins clinking as prices rise. A buyer steps closer, his face framed by a neatly trimmed beard, his tunic dyed deep red to show his wealth. He orders you to walk across the stage. Your legs shake, but you obey. He demands that you lift a heavy stone placed near the block. Your thin arms struggle, but you manage to raise it halfway before dropping it with a thud. Some in the crowd laugh. Others frown, calculating. You feel exposed, naked, even in your ragged tunic, as if the weight of their gaze strips away every last shred of your dignity. At last, the bidding ends. A final shout pierces the air, and the auctioneer slams his staff against the block. The red-robed man is the victor. He hands over a pouch of silver denarii, each coin a year of your stolen life. The merchant counts them carefully, then gestures to his assistant. Your wrists are seized, new chains clamped around them. You belong to another now. The man who bought you does not speak to you directly. He doesn't need to. Ownership requires no conversation. His overseer, a hard-faced veteran with scars across his arms, drags you from the platform and into the streets. Around you, other children meet the same fate. Pulled toward different masters, separated forever from the only companions who shared your suffering. Their cries echo in your ears, mixing with the marketplace noise until it becomes unbearable. As you are led away, you pass the pens where unsold slaves wait. Some are old men with hollow cheeks, others young women with eyes full of fear. A boy no older than 6 clutches the bars, whispering in a language you recognize, perhaps from your own homeland. He reaches out to you, but the overseer jerks your chain, pulling you onward. The boy's hand slips from view. You never see him again. The streets of Rome close in around you. Stone walls, towering temples, fountains where free citizens laugh and drink. They glance at you only briefly, then look away. To them, slaves are invisible unless being bought, sold, or punished. You realize, with a sinking weight in your stomach, that you have entered a world where your suffering is background noise, unworthy of notice. That night, you are thrown into a small cell beneath your master's villa. The straw on the floor scratches. Your skin, the iron around your wrists, feels impossibly heavy. You curl into yourself, whispering your mother's name, your brother's name, but the stone walls swallow every sound. Above you, the city hums with celebration and feasts. But in the darkness of your cell, you understand a truth that will haunt you for years. In Rome, your life has been reduced to a transaction. You are 8 years old, and you have been bought like an object. Your first morning in the master's villa begins with the sharp crack of a whip. Not on your body this time, but close enough that you flinch awake, heart pounding. The overseer barks orders in Latin, words you still barely understand. But the meaning is clear. Get up, move quickly, or suffer the consequences. You stumble to your feet, straw clinging to your tunic, and join the other children as they shuffle into the courtyard. The villa itself is dazzling and terrifying all at once. Sunlight spills over marble columns. Fountains sparkle in the garden. Mosaics of gods and beasts gleam beneath your feet. For a moment, the beauty almost distracts you from the weight of your chains. But then you notice the expressions on the other slaves' faces. Empty, resigned, trained to look past splendor because it belongs to a world they'll never touch. The villa may glitter like Olympus, but for you, it is another prison. Your duties begin immediately. At first, they are menial, fetching water from the cistern, carrying baskets of fruit from the storerooms, sweeping floors already polished to perfection. You are small, your arms weak from years of hunger, so they do not trust you with heavy labor. Instead, you are assigned to serve in the household, an errand boy running from one master's whim to the next. The orders come in a flood. Bring wine. Hold this tray steady. Fetch the physician. Every mistake is met with sharp words, sometimes a slap, always the cold reminder that you are nothing but property. Language is your first barrier. You stumble over Latin phrases, mishear instructions, and earn punishment for misunderstandings. The overseer has no patience for excuses. He corrects you with cuffs to the head, the sting of a rod across your shoulders, or long hours forced to stand in silence while your legs ache. You learn quickly, fear sharpening your memory better than any tutor ever could. Soon you understand enough Latin to anticipate commands, enough to avoid immediate pain. But every word you master feels like another nail sealing your fate. You are adapting to captivity. In the kitchens, you meet other slaves. Some are older, their faces lined from years of servitude, their eyes cautious, but not unkind. A woman named Livia shows you how to grind grain into coarse flour. She speaks softly, her voice a balm in the clamor, and you cling to her kindness like driftwood in a storm. But even she warns you, never let the master see you hesitate, never let the overseer think you're defiant, and never, ever cry where they can hear. You begin to notice the hierarchy within slavery itself. How slaves look down on field slaves, who in turn despise the chained laborers in the villa's workshops. Children like you occupy the lowest rung, too weak to be useful, too young to command even the smallest scrap of respect. You are mocked for your trembling hands, punished twice as harshly when food spills or cups shatter. Survival here is not about strength, but invisibility. The less they notice you, the safer you are. Nights offer no comfort. You sleep in a cramped barracks beneath the villa, the air heavy with the smell of sweat and fear. Chains clink whenever someone shifts in their straw. Whispers ripple in the dark. Stories of home, of families lost, of dreams crushed. You listen, silent, absorbing fragments of a world that once existed for others like you. Sometimes, when the moonlight filters through a crack in the ceiling, you imagine you are back in your village, free, your mother humming as she cooks, your father calling you to run through the fields. But then a guard's footsteps echo in the corridor, and the dream shatters. You soon learn the villa is more than a home. It is a theatre of power. Banquets fill the halls, nobles reclining on couches, while music and laughter swell. You serve wine, carrying jugs almost too heavy for your small arms. Guests pinch your cheeks, mock your accent, or pull at your hair as if testing the quality of an animal. You are ordered to stand silently at their side, ready to pour or fetch or kneel. At the snap of a finger, their indulgence is your humiliation, and yet you must smile when commanded, bow when told, vanish when dismissed. The worst moments are not the blows or the endless labor, but the silence when you realize no one sees you as human. To the masters, family, you are a tool. To the overseer, you are a problem to control. To the guests, you're a curiosity, a background prop in their theatre of wealth. Even the other slaves, though kinder, sometimes remind you that weakness is dangerous. You are 8 years old, yet you feel centuries old, stripped of childhood, before it began, and yet in the shadows of despair, small sparks of resistance flicker. You memorize the layout of the villa, noting which corridors remain unguarded, which doors creak less than others. You learn to walk silently, to slip through spaces without notice. You steal crumbs of bread when no one is watching, share them with another hungry child, and feel, for a fleeting second, like yourself again. When the master orders you to hold a tray steady while he brags to his guests, you imagine yourself elsewhere, running free, the tray a shield, the goblets weapons in your hand. Each day hardens you. Muscles grow where bones once showed, reflexes sharpen under the threat of punishment. You begin to anticipate the overseer's moods, to sense when danger is near. Pain teaches you endurance, humiliation teaches you silence, and silence in turn teaches you patience. Somewhere deep inside, a voice whispers, "This will not be forever." But at night, when you curl on the straw with chains cutting into your wrists, another voice whispers louder, "This is forever." You are a child, yet already you know what it means to live as both shadow and servant. The villa has claimed your body, but your spirit still clings, desperate, waiting for the moment it might breathe free air again. You are 8 years old, and Rome has taught you that even in gilded halls, you are less than human. You are 12 years old when you first see it, the Colosseum. From the distance, it rises above Rome like some impossible mountain, its massive arches glowing in the afternoon sun, its upper tiers lost against the sky. You've heard the whispers from other slaves, stories that mingled awe and terror, the arena where men fought beasts, where champions earned glory, and where the condemned vanished beneath the roar of 100,000 voices. But no whispered tale prepared you for this. As you march in chains through the city streets, people jeer, children throw scraps of bread, and the crowd parts as if making way for a parade of condemned souls. The overseer walks proudly at the head of your group, announcing to bystanders that new gladiators have arrived for training. You lower your gaze, but curiosity burns in you, and when you dare to look up, You see the Colosseum's shadow stretch across the cobblestones like the hand of a god. The entrance swallows you. The air shifts from the bright warmth of the sun to the cool damp of stone corridors. Torches line the walls, their smoke curling upward, their light flickering over carved graffiti. Names of gladiators, prayers to forgotten gods, crude boasts of victories won and lives lost. The corridor echoes with the shuffle of chained feet, the bark of guards, the low murmurs of fear. And then you hear it, the roar. Not the sound of a single voice or even 100, but the thunder of thousands, a wave of noise so powerful it vibrates in your bones. The crowd above is alive with hunger, waiting for blood, for spectacle, for the chance to cheer or curse. You cannot see them yet, but the sound alone crushes you, makes you feel smaller than you ever imagined possible. The overseer forces you toward a gate. Beyond it lies the sand. You glimpse a sliver of the arena through iron bars, golden light pouring onto the floor, stained patches where blood has dried dark, and in the center, a figure standing tall, sword raised as the crowd chants his name. He looks more than human, a statue of bronze brought to life. The crowd's adoration wraps around him like armor. For a moment you wonder, could such glory ever belong to you? Then the gate slams shut and the overseer shoves you down a stairwell into darkness. You arrive at the Ludus, the gladiator school that will become both your prison and your training ground. The Lanista, the master of gladiators, stands waiting. His eyes are cold, calculating, assessing each of you like livestock at market. He nods to the trainers, scarred veterans whose bodies bear the map of 100 battles. You see their muscles, the twisted marks of healed wounds, the way they move with predatory grace. These men survived what you are about to begin, and the thought is both terrifying and intoxicating. The trainers waste no time. They strip away your rags, wash you with cold water, and mark your skin with chalk numbers. You are no longer a child, no longer even yourself. You are property of the arena now. They measure your arms, your chest, your stride. One mutters that you are too small. Another says small ones can be quick. Their laughter cuts deeper than their words. That night, you lie on a hard cot in the gladiator barracks. Around you, men whisper prayers or curses. Some weep. Silently, others sharpen blades, even though the guards will not let them keep them long. The air smells of sweat, iron, and despair. Yet above it all, you can still hear faintly the echo of the crowd's roar, as if the very stones of the Colosseum remember every scream, every cheer, every death. Sleep does not come easily. Your mind replays the glimpse of the champion in the arena, the way the crowd adored him. Was he once like you? A slave dragged here in chains? Did he begin with fear in his belly, knees trembling, eyes wide with dread? Or was he always destined for glory, a god in the shape of a man? You don't know, but something inside you whispers that perhaps if you survive, you could learn to walk as he walked, to stand beneath the sun as the world shouts your name. The next morning, training begins. Wooden swords are thrust into your hands, heavy and awkward. A trainer sneers at your clumsy grip, strikes you across the back with a staff until you adjust your stance. Feet apart, eyes up, guard high. The commands are barked in Latin, but you understand enough to obey. Every mistake is pain. Every hesitation is humiliation. But pain is already your oldest companion, and humiliation is nothing new. You grit your teeth and endure. Days blur into weeks. Bruises bloom across your body like purple flowers, cuts sting, muscles ache. Yet slowly, you change. The wooden sword grows less foreign in your hands. Your feet learn to move quickly. Your eyes sharpen to track an opponent's motions. The trainers are merciless, but you notice, when you fall, when you rise again, when you refuse to stay down, they watch with something almost like respect. And always, always, the sound of the Colosseum hovers above you. When the gates rattle open and a roar explodes from tens of thousands of throats, the noise seeps through the stone, reminding you that every bruise, every cut, every tear is building toward one thing. The moment when you will step into that arena. You are 12 years old. You have seen death in the streets, chains in the villa, cruelty in every corner of Rome. But now, for the first time, you glimpse something else. Glory. It is a distant star, unreachable, perhaps impossible, yet it glimmers in the shadow of the Colosseum, daring you to reach for it. And as you drift into uneasy sleep that night, you whisper to yourself a vow: if I must die, let it be where the world will remember me. The days begin before dawn. A horn echoes through the barracks, dragging you from uneasy sleep. The floor is cold stone beneath your bare feet as you stumble into line with the others. Some are young like you, their eyes still haunted by the memory of home. Others are older, seasoned, fighters with scars that tell stories you don't want to hear. All of you shuffle into the training yard, the rising sun painting the Colosseum's outer walls in shades of gold. The yard is nothing more than packed dirt surrounded by high walls, but to you, it feels like another kind of arena. Trainers pace, back and forth like wolves, carrying whips or wooden staffs. Their eyes are sharp, searching for weakness. Weakness is punished swiftly. A stumble earns a lash. A poorly timed block earns a blow to the stomach. A dropped weapon earns a day without food. You learn quickly that mistakes are not just lessons, they are suffering. At first, your body protests every command. The wooden sword feels too heavy. The shield bruises your arm. Running laps around the yard makes your chest burn and your legs shake. But the trainers do not care. They shout until your throat is raw. Strike until your skin is striped with red. Force you to push beyond what you thought possible. A gladiator who cannot endure pain, one snarls, is already dead. The drills are endless. Sword against sword, shield against staff, lunges and parries repeated until your muscles scream. Then come the sparring matches. You are paired against boys larger than you, stronger than you. They knock you down again and again, the dust filling your mouth, the laughter of trainers filling your ears. Each time you rise, the blows come harder. Stay down, one opponent whispers when you stagger to your feet. It hurts less if you stay down, but you refuse. Something deep inside you, a spark of stubborn pride, a refusal to surrender, forces you upright every time. And each time you rise, the trainers watch. It is not just your body they try to shape. It is your mind, your spirit. The trainers speak of glory, of how the crowd loves a fighter who does not flinch, who meets death with a smile. They speak of honor, of serving Rome, of how a slave might become a legend if he survives long enough. But beneath the words lies another truth. They are teaching you to obey, to forget who you were, to accept the arena as your only reality. One day, the lanista himself visits the yard. The murmurs of the other gladiators fall silent as he enters. His cloak is rich, his sandals polished, his gaze cold. He circles the fighters like a merchant inspecting his wares. When he stops before you, his eyes linger. He tells the trainer to strike you across the face. You stagger but remain standing, blood on your lip, chin high. The lanista nods. "This one will live," he says, and then he is gone, leaving you with both fear and a strange, dangerous pride. The food is meager, but designed to keep you strong. Barley, porridge, beans, bread, sometimes meat if the lanista wants to reward you. You eat in silence, surrounded by the sounds of men chewing, muttering, sharpening weapons. At night, you collapse onto your cot, every muscle aching, every bone heavy. But sleep brings no relief. Dreams come filled with the faces of your family, the sound of chains, the roar of the crowd. You wake with tears on your cheeks, only to find the horn calling you back to the yard. Weeks pass and you begin to change. The bruises fade into scars. The weakness drains from your limbs. Your arms grow stronger, your legs swifter, your strikes sharper. You learn to read the smallest shift in an opponent's stance. The flicker of an eye before a blow, the tightening of a fist. The wooden sword no longer feels foreign. It feels like an extension of yourself. Pain no longer surprises you. It is the rhythm of your days. But the greatest battle is not with your body. It is with despair. Every morning, you watch the sun rise over the Colosseum and wonder if you will ever leave its shadow. You hear the crowd's distant roar when games are held, and you wonder if you will survive long enough to stand on that sand. You hear men cry in the barracks at night, whispering names of wives, children, parents. You hear others speak of glory, of becoming champions, of earning freedom. You do not know which is worse, those who hope too much or those who hope not at all. And yet, amid the cruelty, you find something unexpected. Brotherhood. The man who knocks you down in training helps you to your feet afterward. The scarred veteran who laughs at your mistakes whispers advice when the trainer isn't watching. The boy who told you to stay down presses a crust of bread into your hand when your stomach growls too loudly at night. You are all slaves, but in the yard, in the barracks, you begin to feel like something more. A brotherhood of survival, bound by pain, forged by suffering. One evening, as the torches burn low and the barracks grow quiet, Marcus, the oldest fighter in your group, a man with a broken nose and eyes that have seen too much, leans close and whispers, "Remember this, boy. They can break your body. They can beat you, starve you, chain you. But if you let them break your spirit, you are already dead. Hold on to something inside yourself, even if it's only a spark. That spark will keep you alive." You lie awake that night, clutching the words as tightly as a sword. The next morning, when the horn sounds and the trainers shout and the whips crack, you rise with something new in your chest. Not just fear, not just endurance, but defiance. The Colosseum has begun its work. It is grinding you down, reshaping you, stripping you of who you were. But it has not yet crushed that spark, and you vow that it never will. The day begins like any other. The horn's call drags you from the thin blanket, the damp air of the barracks pressing heavy on your chest. You rise with the others, your body aching from yesterday's drills. Dust still clings to your skin. Sweat has dried into salt, but there is no time for washing. The trainers demand speed. By the time the sun creeps over the wall, you are already in the yard, wooden sword in hand, waiting for orders. But today feels different. The trainers speak less and watch more. Their eyes are sharp, their voice is low, as if something unusual is about to happen. The veteran gladiators mutter among themselves, and you catch fragments of words. Steel, blood, test. Your stomach tightens. You have learned that rumors here rarely end well. The drills begin as usual. Lunges, parries, the crack of staffs on backs when someone falters. But then the lanista himself arrives, surrounded by guards. His presence alone silences the yard. He surveys the fighters, his expression unreadable. Then he gives a single nod, and the trainers bring out real weapons. Not the heavy wooden blades dulled from countless drills, but iron, gleaming in the sun, sharp enough to cut flesh. You stare at the sword handed to you. It feels heavier than wood, colder, alive in a way that makes your palms sweat. This is no longer practice. This is the first true step toward the arena. One of the trainers speaks loudly enough for all to hear. Today you bleed. Today you learn what it means to be gladiators. Pairs are chosen, and you find yourself face to face with another boy from the barracks. His name is Caius. He is close to your age, with dark hair that always falls into his eyes. You have eaten beside him, traded whispers in the dark about life before the chains. You never imagined you would be ordered to fight him with real steel. The trainer's command is simple: fight until one bleeds, no killing, not today. But as the yard falls silent and the others gather to watch, you realize the difference between practice and reality is vast. Wooden swords bruise, iron swords maim, and once blood is spilled, nothing can ever return to how it was before. At first, neither of you moves. You grip your sword with both hands, your arms trembling. Caius swallows, hard. his eyes darting to the trainer's whip raised in warning. The lash cracks the air, and instinct forces you both into motion. The clash of iron rings loud in your ears. The shock of it travels down your arm, numbing your fingers. You step back, heart hammering, and Caius presses forward, his blade flashing toward your shoulder. You block, barely, the impact jolting your body. Dust swirls around your feet as you circle, every breath ragged, every heartbeat thundering. The watching men shout advice, some cruel, some mocking. "Strike! Don't hesitate! Aim for his arm, boy! Spill blood or you'll spill your own!" Their voices blur into noise. All you can see is Caius, his wide eyes, the sweat running down his temple, the sword that glitters like fire in the sunlight. Minutes feel like hours. Blades scrape, feet stumble, sparks fly as steel grinds against steel. Then it happens. You lunge, too slow, too clumsy, and Caius's blade slides across your forearm. A burning sting erupts, followed by the warmth of blood. It drips down your hand, red against the silver of your sword. The crowd roars. Not the crowd of Rome, not the thousands of citizens, but the small crowd of trainers and gladiators. Still, their reaction chills you. They cheer your pain, celebrate your wound as if it were triumph. The trainer steps forward, examining the cut, nodding with approval. "First blood," he says. "Now you begin to understand." Caius lowers, his sword, his chest heaving. His expression is not victory, it is horror. You see your own fear mirrored in his eyes. For a moment, you are not opponents, not slaves forced to fight, but two boys who have just crossed a line neither can ever retreat from. The trainer orders you both back into line, the match declared finished. The cut is bound quickly with cloth. No more attention given than one might give a horse's scratch. The lesson is clear. Pain is nothing. Blood is routine. Your body is not your own. From this day forward, you are expected to bleed for their amusement, and soon enough for the roar of the Colosseum. That night in the barracks, silence hangs heavy. No one mocks, no one jokes. Caius lies on his cot across from yours, staring at the ceiling. You want to speak to him, to say something, anything, but words feel hollow. What comfort could possibly exist in a world where friends are forced to draw each other's blood? You trace the line of the bandage on your arm, the dull throb of pain, a constant reminder. You think of the crowd's cheers, of the trainers' approval, of the way Caius's face changed when he saw your blood. You realize now that bleeding is not the worst fate. The worst fate is becoming numb to it. And as the torches burn low, you whisper to yourself the only promise you can make. You will not let them turn you into something less than human, no matter how much blood is demanded. The day arrives sooner than you ever imagined. You wake to the sound of the horn, but this time it is not for training. The trainers move with unusual urgency, their voices sharp, their expressions unreadable. You are told to wash, to oil your skin, to put on the armor set aside for you. It is not the heavy iron of veteran fighters, but the lighter gear meant for beginners, more symbolic than protective. Still, when the helmet is placed in your hands, its weight seems unbearable. Your stomach twists as you realize what this means. You are going into the arena, not to fight to the death, not yet. That fate belongs to seasoned gladiators. But to take your first steps onto the sand, to be displayed before the crowd, to taste what it means to be an entertainer in chains. The march to the Colosseum is short, but every step feels endless. The streets are lined with people, buzzing with anticipation. They cheer not for you, but for the spectacle, for the violence they expect to see. Children perch on their fathers' shoulders, pointing at you, as though you were an exotic animal paraded through the city. You keep your eyes down, the iron collar around your neck reminding you with each movement that you are property, not person. The Colosseum looms ahead, vast and monstrous, its stone arches rising like the ribs of some ancient beast. The roar from within is already deafening. Tens of thousands of voices blend into a sound that vibrates through your chest. You have heard this noise from a distance during training, but to stand before it now makes your knees tremble. Inside, the air smells of dust, sweat, and something metallic. You and the others are herded into the dim tunnels beneath the arena. Torches flicker along the walls, casting shadows that seem to dance with anticipation. Veteran gladiators wait here too, sharpening blades, checking straps, offering no words of comfort. For them, this is routine. For you, it is the edge of a cliff. The lanista appears, flanked by guards. He surveys the group and gives a short speech, more for ceremony than encouragement. Today, you will stand where legends have stood. Today, you show Rome what it means to belong to the arena. Do not falter. Do not shame your school. Remember, the crowd is everything. His gaze lingers on you for a moment, and then he gestures toward the great gate. The sound beyond it grows louder, a tidal wave of noise crashing closer with each heartbeat. Then the gate rises. Sunlight pours in, blinding after the dim tunnels. The roar explodes into thunder. You step forward, your feet sinking into sand that has soaked up centuries of blood and sweat. The Colosseum spreads out around you, vast and overwhelming. The tiers of stone rise higher than you can believe, filled with faces, tens of thousands of eyes fixed on you. The emperor himself sits in the imperial box, a distant figure cloaked in power. Everywhere else, people lean forward, shouting, clapping, stamping their feet in rhythm. The sound is alive, a beast that feeds on your fear. You walk with the others in a slow procession, circling the arena. This is not yet combat, but spectacle, a chance for the crowd to see their new playthings. You feel exposed, small, every step, weighed down by their gaze. Some cheer wildly, others boo, still others laugh. A boy throws a piece of bread into the sand, mocking you as though you were a stray dog. The master of ceremonies calls out names, announcing each fighter. When yours is shouted, the crowd reacts, a mixture of curiosity and indifference. To them, you are just another slave. But in that moment, you feel the weight of the world pressing down, as though your entire life has been reduced to a spectacle for their amusement. Then, the demonstration begins. You are paired with Caius again, the same boy who cut you during training. But this time, the swords are dulled iron, not toys, but not sharp enough to kill easily. The crowd wants drama, not corpses. The command is given, and you raise your weapon. The fight is clumsy, filled with nervous movements and hesitant strikes. But the crowd doesn't care. They cheer every clash of iron, every stumble, every near miss. When Caius's blade grazes your shoulder, they erupt as if they have witnessed a masterpiece. You realize the truth. The arena is not about fighting, it is about theater. Pain and fear are currency, and the crowd demands both. You fight until your arms ache, until sweat blinds your eyes, until your breath comes in ragged gasps. Then, with a shout from the trainers, the fight is ended. Neither of you has fallen, neither of you has bled, but the lesson is burned into your soul. The crowd does not care who you are. They care only that you perform, that you give them something, to cheer, to jeer, to remember for a moment before demanding more. When the horn sounds, you are led back through the gate. The noise fades, replaced by the heavy silence of the tunnels. Caius meets your eyes, both of you too exhausted to speak. You know that this was only the beginning. Today you tasted the arena's hunger. Tomorrow it will demand blood. That night, lying on your cot, you hear the echo of the crowd in your ears. The roar, the laughter, the stamp of feet. It becomes a phantom that haunts you even in the dark. You realize now that the arena is not just a place, it is a monster, and you are trapped inside it. The second time you step into the Colosseum, everything feels different. The sand no longer looks like golden earth. It looks like a carpet waiting to drink blood. The roar of the crowd no longer feels distant or overwhelming. It feels personal, like tens of thousands of voices demanding proof that you belong here. The armor strapped to your chest is heavier this time, the blade in your hand sharper, the stakes impossibly higher. The Lannister's words echo in your mind. Today, the playthings bleed. You march into the sunlight again, the gates rising as if the belly of the beast opens to devour you. The crowd erupts when they see fresh faces. You hear shouts, laughter, wagers being made. Somewhere up high, the Emperor raises a hand, acknowledging the spectacle, and suddenly you understand. You are not here to fight. You are here to feed Rome's appetite. This time there is no mock sparring, no dulled iron. Each fighter is given a real weapon, swords, tridents, even weighted nets for those chosen to play the role of a retiarius. You are handed a short sword, a gladius, its edge polished to a mirror shine. The weight is reassuring, yet terrifying. You have trained with weapons like this, but never with death hanging on the outcome. The match is announced. Pairs of novices will fight until one can no longer stand. Not always to the death, at least not officially. But the crowd demands blood, and blood they will have. Your name is called again, and this time cheers rise louder than before. They remember you. They want to see what you will do. You face your opponent across the sand. Another boy like you, no older than 17, his eyes wide with fear and desperation. His hands tremble on the hilt of his sword, and you realize he does not want to be here any more than you do. But one of you must fall, because that is the law of the arena. The horn sounds. You circle each other cautiously, every movement amplified by the crowd's roar. He strikes first, clumsy but fast, his blade glancing off your shield. The sound of iron on iron explodes in your ears, and the crowd responds with thunderous applause. Your heart races. You counter, driving him back, but hesitate. You cannot bring yourself to aim for the kill. He sees your hesitation and lunges again, this time cutting your arm. The pain is sharp, sudden, shocking. The crowd roars louder. They have seen blood, and they want more. Something shifts inside you. The sting in your arm ignites something darker, a primal instinct buried beneath fear. You no longer see a boy in front of you. You see an obstacle, a threat, a reflection of your own fate. If you do not fight, you will die. If you hesitate again, the sand will drink your blood instead of his. Your next strike is harder, faster. He staggers. You press forward, every muscle burning, every heartbeat hammering in your ears. The crowd chants, a rhythmic pounding of voices that drives you forward like a storm. Finally, you catch him off balance. Your sword slashes across his side, and he falls to the sand, gasping, clutching his wound. The arena erupts. Thousands of voices shout for the Emperor, their hands turned downward in the infamous gesture, the demand for death. You freeze, sword raised, trembling. The boy looks at you, his eyes filled with terror and pleading. You know this gaze because it is your own. But mercy is not yours to give. You glance toward the Emperor's box. The ruler raises a hand, his thumb angled, waiting. The crowd chants louder, drowning out your thoughts. You feel your arm rise as though controlled by something, beyond yourself. The blade falls. Silence, then explosion. The Colosseum shakes with approval. You stand there, chest heaving, sword slick, your vision swimming. The boy lies still. You have killed for the first time. When the horn sounds, you stagger back into the tunnels, the roar still echoing in your skull. Your body trembles, your stomach twists. You want to vomit, to collapse, to scream. But the trainers clap you on the back, calling you brave, calling you born for the arena. Other gladiators nod with grim approval. You have passed the invisible threshold, from slave to killer, from boy to spectacle. That night, you lie awake, on your cot, staring into the darkness. You see the boy's eyes again and again, begging for life. You hear the crowd screaming for death. You feel the weight of the sword in your hand, heavier than any chain. You realize now that the arena does not only claim bodies, it claims souls, and yours is already being carved away, piece by piece, every time the sand drinks blood. You have survived your first true fight. But survival is no victory. It is only the beginning of a war that will consume everything you are. When the sand dries and the crowd disperses, the echoes remain. You sit in the dim cell beneath the Colosseum, the torches flickering against damp walls, and realize that something inside you has changed forever. You survived the arena. You are alive, but not untouched. The blood on your sword washed away easily. The blood in your memory will never fade. The older gladiators tell you the same thing again and again. Survival is the only honor. At first, it sounds like wisdom. Later, you realize it is a curse. Because to survive in this world, you must learn not only to fight, but to stop caring. Compassion, hesitation, mercy. These are luxuries the arena will beat out of you until nothing remains but instinct and obedience. The days blur into a cycle of training, eating, sleeping, and waiting. You learn quickly that survival in the arena is not just about skill with a sword. It is about understanding the crowd. They do not cheer for restraint. They cheer for ferocity, for spectacle, for the illusion that you are more beast than man. If you want to live, you must become what they expect. The lanista, your master, makes it clear. A gladiator who bores the crowd dies quicker than one who loses his match. The message is simple. The Colosseum does not only demand victory, it demands performance. You must strike with flair, roar when you wound, raise your arms to invite applause. Even your survival must be entertaining. At first you resist. You fight with efficiency, trying to end matches quickly, trying not to prolong the suffering of your opponents. The crowd notices. They do not cheer. They murmur, restless, hungry for more. When your bout ends too quickly, the emperor does not even glance in your direction. The lanista warns you, fight like that again and you will not see another sunrise. So, you adapt. The next time you step onto the sand, you force yourself to prolong the fight. You feint instead of finishing. You shout, you gesture, you slash the air theatrically, and when you finally wound your opponent, you pause to let the crowd savor it. The roar is deafening. Coins rain down. The emperor nods. You are safe for now. But with each performance, a piece of yourself is lost. You begin to see your opponents not as fellow slaves, but as tools for your survival. Their pain becomes your mask, their suffering your shield. When they beg for mercy, you hear only the crowd. When they fall, you raise your arms not in triumph, but in submission to the demand of thousands of strangers who treat your life as a wager. The other gladiators notice the change. Some nod with approval, others with quiet disgust. One of them, an older fighter named Marcellus, tells you one night in the barracks, every victory costs more than it gives. You think you're surviving, but really you're bleeding out. Just not from your skin. His words haunt you, but you push them aside. Because he is right, and you cannot afford to believe him. The price of survival is not measured in scars. It is measured in what you lose of yourself. You begin to flinch less when you see blood. You begin to sleep better after fights, no longer tormented by the eyes of the fallen. You laugh when the others laugh, drink when the others drink, celebrate when a comrade wins, even though you know that next time it might be you standing over his body. There are nights when you wonder if the boy who once ran barefoot through olive groves still exists. You try to picture his face, his laughter, his dreams, but the image blurs, replaced by the roar of the arena, the flash of sunlight on steel, the taste of dust and fear. The boy is gone. In his place stands someone new, someone the crowd calls a gladiator. And yet, deep inside, a small voice whispers that This transformation is not victory. It is surrender. You are not winning against the system. You are becoming part of it. Every cheer that saves your life is also another chain around your soul. The arena has taught you the cruelest lesson of all, that sometimes, to survive, you must become the very thing you once feared. It was intoxicating, but also terrifying. You understood now that leadership was heavier than any shield. Every decision you made could mean life or death for the men who followed you. At night, when the campfires dimmed, you stared into the embers and wondered if the gods were mocking you. Once a boy sold as property, then a spectacle in the Colosseum, and now a soldier trusted with command. Perhaps fate had not broken you after all. It was reshaping you into something Rome had never intended, a man who could not be ignored. The campaign that followed tested you more than any gladiatorial fight or battlefield skirmish. Rome faced an uprising of tribes uniting under a single banner, their warriors numbering in the tens of thousands. Your legion marched to meet them, and for the first time, you saw an enemy that dwarfed the Colosseum crowd in sheer numbers. The battle raged for 3 days. On the first, Rome's lines buckled under the ferocity of the assault. On the second, both sides bled each other dry, neither yielding an inch. On the third, with exhaustion threatening to collapse the legion, your moment arrived. The enemy broke through a weak point, driving straight toward the commander's tent. If they reached it, Rome's discipline would collapse into chaos. Without waiting for orders, you seized the initiative. Rallying your deaconess unit, you led a desperate charge, straight into the breach. You remember little of the fight itself, only fragments, the clash of steel, the screams of wounded men, the suffocating press of bodies. At one point, you locked eyes with a barbarian chieftain towering over you. His axe swung down with the weight of a mountain, and you caught it on your shield, the wood splitting in two. With nothing left but instinct, you drove your gladius upward, and the giant fell. The sight of their leader collapsing broke the enemy's will. They faltered, then fled. Rome, against all odds, had won, and you, the slave who once fought for the jeers of a mob, had struck the decisive blow. Word spread quickly through the camp. Soldiers who once spat at you now lifted you onto their shoulders, chanting your name. The commander himself placed a laurel wreath upon your brow, a crown of victory usually reserved for generals, not men who had once been property. For the first time in your life, you were not defined by chains, nor by scars, nor by the pity of others. You were defined by what you had done. When the army returned to Rome, your story traveled faster than your footsteps. Crowds gathered in the streets, whispering about the gladiator who became a soldier, the soldier who became a hero. Senators debated whether it was wise to honor a man of your past, but the people loved you, and Rome always bowed to the roar of the people. The emperor himself summoned you, praising your valor. With a decree sealed in wax, he granted you something you had never dreamed possible: freedom. Not just survival, not just respect, but citizenship. A name, a place, a future. You were 20 years old, once a child sold into slavery, once a gladiator treated as an animal, now a man crowned by Rome as its protector. The Colosseum had sought to destroy you, but instead it had forged you. And though history might one day forget your name, for a brief blazing moment, you stood not as a victim, but as a hero of the empire.